The All-Star break is over and the Houston Astros got a lot of rest, and hopefully they did not catch a lot of the COVID-19 virus like the New York Yankees did. And apparently we have the first blockbuster trade of the July trade deadline, and it's not by the Houston Astros, but I'm pretty sure they're going to be talking about that and where the Astros sit on the rankings, and what is Bet Online, where do the Astros rank in terms of the World Series rankings in terms of by betonline.ag. And we have a special guest. We'll talk about this and more on today's Locked On Astros podcast.
It's the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Astros, your daily Astros podcast. Here are your hosts, Eric the Man Heisman and Brett H-Town Wheelhouse Chansey.
We are Locked On Houston Astros, and we hope that you join us for a daily Locked On Astros podcast. My name is Eric Heisman. You can find me on Twitter at Eric Talks Stros. You can find the show at Locked On Astros, your team every day. Brett, where can they find you at?
They can find me at H-Town Wheelhouse on Twitter and at Stros411 on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Always positive, always Stros.
I just escaped from an awesome escape room. Can you go ahead and introduce us to our special guest?
Yes, this is Matt Collier, and he has created a pretty cool stat called FaBIO, and we'll get into that. Matt, tell everybody listening and watching where they can find you on Twitter.
It's at Illocity.
Alrighty, so we've got a lot to talk about. I think we're going to be talking about what, when you're drafting pitchers, especially what should you be looking for, and we'll be talking about what Matt looks for in terms of a good pitcher, and we'll talk about what he looks at. We've got a lot of charts to look at, so we got a lot to talk about, and I'm really excited to hear about where betonline.ag has the Astros in terms of not just making it to the World Series, but actually winning the World Series. So we'll talk about that and more. And one day, either Friday or Saturday, we're going to be Brett and I are going to be doing the Spotify Green Room, and that's where y'all can become part of the discussion, where y'all can join. I know y'all do this chat room. A lot of y'all, whether you're on YouTube or Spotify, or not Spotify, but on YouTube or Twitter or however you listen to this live, y'all can communicate via chat. Y'all can actually become part of the discussion. So Spotify Green Room is changing the way we talk sports, and let's go and get this show on the road. You mentioned a trade. I didn't even hear about that because I was in the escape room, but Jock Peterson is going where?
He is going to the Atlanta Braves, and they traded him for a minor league ball player. His last name is Ball, so he got traded for a ball. I'll give Matt Collier special props on that joke he made before the show. And so it looks like the Atlanta Braves are going for it. They got Jock Peterson. He's the man, the money guy. All right, the Johnny Manziel wannabe. But, on the show today, we are going to get into the whole FaBIO thing. I know there's also power rankings we need to hit on. The Astros are actually third in those power rankings, Eric. The Giants at 1, Dodgers 2. And then when you look at the Astros rounded out in the top 3, followed by the White Sox, the Red Sox, the Rays, the Padres at 7, and then all the way down at number 10 are the Oakland A's. But let me tell you a little bit about what FaBIO is. It's not a famous model for romance novels or a really bad actor or the I can't believe it's not butter spray advertisement guy. It's basically Matt is classified as a pitcher analyst. He leans heavily on a self-created fielding and ballpark independent outcomes metric. And he's going to share with us how people analyze pitchers, how basically we talk about analytics in a new school way. And what Matt explained to me was this is really kind of an old school philosophy of how you evaluate pitchers. Or we're going to use a couple of the Astros draft picks as examples. If you're watching the show, he's going to show us some charts, but if you're listening, he's going to talk you through them, so you'll be able to understand what it is we're looking at. So you should be able to, it'd be like telling a story or a play-by-play.
All right, so let's get this show on the road. Matt, you want to go and get started and tell us a little bit about FaBIO?
Some of the graphics up for those that have access to them. Just so you guys have them up on the screen now.
Yes.
Let's see. Okay, so FaBIO ignores even outs, runs, home runs, etc. Instead, it sorts plate appearance, outcome, into strikeout is either a hit by pitch or walk, and then there are 10 bats encompassing 4 batted ball types, which are the outfield, infield fly ball, the ground ball, and the line drive. The field itself is split into 3 equal pie slices based on whether it's the pull, center, or opposite third of the field based on the batter handedness. So image here, I'll show you. There are basically each of those events have runs value associated in each league. The 2 best events far and away for a pitcher, unsurprisingly, a strikeout, but field fly ball is basically a strikeout. The pull ground ball is also a pitcher, and depending on how prevalent shifts are, either the oppo ground ball or the center tend to favor the pitcher. The 5 events to avoid for a pitcher are the 3 line drives, the walker hit by pitch, and then the one out ball to avoid is the pull outfield fly ball. Proportionately, home runs, other types of extra base hits. And those of you watching in Houston, I want to understand that problem because the 2 fences are so close to the field park. But we're talking about 8 today, so it's a little bit different than the major league situation.
So hey, I have a quick question.
Basically,
Matt.
What we do have for any league or level that we have analyzed. Okay.
So
Sure.
yes, I have a quick question. Whenever you're talking about the shift and that falling into your statistical analysis, if Major League Baseball bans the shift, does that alter how you figure out what the FaBIO is for a pitcher? Does that alter it any?
It certainly changes the runs value depending on pitchers' ground balls happen to be distributed relative. Can be affected by T and movement on the pitches, etc. I wouldn't think that presence or absence of shift would affect too much how I evaluate a pitcher. To be honest with you, it's more of the other things actually.
Okay, so
once we've kind of
No, go ahead.
Okay, so once we've counted up all the events in a league, typically do then is we have to rate them versus some peer group on various categories. The all-in-one metric that I use is just simply called overall rating. It's based on expected runs per batted face. Count events, figure out how many expected runs the pitcher would give up, and then divide by the numbers of batters faced. The overall rating can be broken down into 3 components. And those are batted ball rating, strikeout rating, and control rating. The most important of those is strikeout rating, then batted ball rating, and then control rating is the least important. I'll down into the batted ball rating into 5 different categories, ground so on. So besides doing that versus every batter that a pitcher face, we also do that versus opposite-handed batters, also versus same-handed batters. And that gives us clues about where the holes in the pitcher's profile are in terms of facing left-handed or right-handed batters, where their strengths and weaknesses go, and so on. So once we've got things determined, in the NCAA, we have every team that the pitcher faced because all the competition is so variable between pitchers in different conferences and so forth. So I'm going to go ahead and move on to looking the first pick that we're going to look at is Chase McDermott, pitcher. He had Tommy John back when he was a freshman in the late 2017 or early 2018. You can see, those of you can see the table can see that he gets a 99 rating. So these are percentile ratings on a traditional scouting scale. So he's a 99 in 2021 of the strikeout, which means he's between plus of average, anywhere from average to plus at batted ball profile, but in order to offset that, he's probably a half minus control pitcher. You see here, and what makes him very, very appealing as a starting pitcher prospect is he's really dominant against opposite-handed batters. So right-handed pitcher who actually gets dinged in scouting reports for not having a chance, but that's really not an issue worried about. He's kind of like early career McCullers was always kind of talked about as not having a changeup, but the truth was that his curve was so good that he didn't need one. It's only in recent McCullers has started to experiment with the change. Again, don't fret too much over any criticisms you see of McDermott not at this point, because he's not going to need that pitch. He starts to experience some problems with left-handed batters. The next pitcher is the next three that I show you have a common thread and their careers as a freshman at a very big time Division I college baseball program, moved on as a sophomore to junior college in order to get a sure opportunity to pitch in his start, and then he moved on to a smaller Division I program after that year, and to get a better opportunity to pitch than they're getting at the big time program. Eric had a mini breakout in the Texas Collegiate League. He has a profile that I infield fly ball plus strikeout profile. He rated 99 out of 100 at both the strikeout and the infield fly ball. Beyond that, he was, which really made his batted ball profile rating skyrocket. He went to Louisiana Lafayette for the spring, got stretched out to a fuller starter's workload, and both his K rating and infield fly ball rating came back to earth a bit, but remained well above average. So looking at what happened in the summer over a smaller workload, for the spring over a larger workload, that gives us a pretty good clue that his long-term future may probably be as a strikeout plus infield kind of short reliever. But we're now in the way the Astros develop starting pitchers, so I think we should be fairly confident that he'll be in setup to begin next when he comes out of spring training, and be developed as a starter for at least a few years, and then we'll take it from there. The Astros are really good at tweaking out extra strikeout ability. If he gets that, then yes, maybe he could stick it as a starter. That plays out. Colton Gordon is the next pitcher, and again, same story of going to a big-time program in Florida, not getting in, moving on to junior college, and eventually winding up at Central Florida. So back in 2020, before the pandemic shut down, he was kind of killing it at both with an average strikeout performance. He pitched 3 times in a summer league last summer, had his K rating spike up to 97, and then he came out this spring and put up a nicely strong control profile. Those of you who are watching at home, if you look at the control K and the batted ball profile columns right here, he is basically 3 control points of being green at all 3 of those things. And we call that basically a triple plus slashy. So that's a nod to FaBIO's appearance in Zoolander, for those reference already, and now we're into Zoolander. But only 3 pitchers all of Division I baseball last year faced at least 200 batters over a starter's workload were green. He was actually the 22nd highest ranked pitcher in Division I baseball per FaBIO in this 98 overall. But unfortunately, he had an elbow injury, and he's had Tommy John recently. An opportunity for the Astros to get a pitcher like this later. Of course, they had their early round taken away. So it's both a disappointment, but also a blessing in this kind of a pitcher. And the Astros, if those of you who follow in the system know, it's very they could very much use some left-handed starting pitching blood in their farm system. So that's a positive. This will be the last one we'll do before we take a little break on to the other guys. So this is Aaron Brown from Middle Tennessee. He was only around 30 at control and strikeout rating, but he spiked to 90 on control and 99 on strikeout. So he had marks. Unfortunately, his batted ball profile rating went the other direction. So he's got some volatility in his performance from 2020 to 21. So it's a little bit just what he's going to be, but we can be very confident when he gets in next spring. He has splits here. Same-handed batters, he's rated 98. Opposite-handed batters, he rates 77. He gets to change-up pitcher in some of the scouting reports I saw, but this profile here is not at all what a change-up like on the FaBIO scale, like what a slider pitcher looks like. It's probably made some gains in his spinning of the baseball, and again, that's a strength of the Astros pitcher development system. So we'll see what he is. I'm not sure what he is yet, but he looks pretty good, and the recent work looks phenomenal in terms of control and strikeout. And we'll see what happens with the batted profile ahead. But so he's an interesting guy to watch. 2 picks. We'll take a break here, talk a little bit with Eric, and then we'll pick back up on the day 3 picks for a little while.
Hey guys, that was Aaron Brown, the last one. I think your audio cut off at that point, but so guys,
Okay.
Speaking of building up your farm system, let's talk a little bit about Built Bar. Built Bar is a perfect way to kind of stock up your pantry, right, Brett?
Yeah, BuiltBar.com actually Built.com is the place where you can get Built Bars. It is the best tasting protein bar in the business. There are all these other protein bars out there, and sure, you can go get them. You can pay a lot of money. You can take in a lot of sugar, a ton of carbs if you want, but it's simply not healthy for you. What's great is Built Bar is wrapped in 100% chocolate, and they have flavors that are just absolutely amazing. German chocolate, cookies and cream, birthday cake, white chocolate. I mean, the sky's the limit with Built Bar. You have the freedom of choice with Built Bar. You can choose from a ton of different flavors. Now, most of them, check out on the macros, 17 to 18 grams of protein. The calories ranging from 130 to 180. And only 4 to 5 grams of sugar, only 4 to 5 grams of net carbs. They're amazing flavors. They're all tasty, and they are all healthy. So order today and get the grasshopper cookie, get the raspberry, whatever you like. They are the official protein bar of the U.S. track and field team. That's pretty cool. The offer is at BuiltBar.com. The promo code is LOCKED15. That's LOCKED15. And you can get that at Built.com today, LOCKED15 for your promo code, 15% off your first order.
Hey, speaking of which, let's go and do the Bet Online. We'll talk about the numbers I sent you earlier today. I was surprised about it, Brett, but let's talk a little bit about betonline.ag.
Yeah, betonline.ag is the amazing sportsbook experts online. They're really the only place you should go if you're into sports betting. They have all the information. They have all the lines, all the latest news. They've got stuff like the trades, who's going to go where. Like we're going to talk about the World Series odds for the Houston Astros. How many bombs will Altuve hit? Will he get to 50 home runs? Yeah, I know that sounds crazy, but who knows? Ohtani, will he get to 62 this year? The sky's the limit. BetOnline is your sportsbook experts. When you go there and you download the app like I have on my phone, and you do your first initial deposit, you get a 50% welcome bonus on that deposit. But you got to use the promo code Locked On. So head to their website and use your mobile device and sign in today for your 50% welcome bonus. Bet Online, your online sportsbook experts.
All right, so Brett, I know I sent you this earlier, and I was really surprised about this. Matt, you'll probably be surprised with this too. Looking at the odds to let's look at the possible World Series matchups, and the number one plus 900 to the matchups for the World Series, according to Bet Online, is Houston Astros versus the Los Angeles Dodgers, and that's plus 900. And then if you look a little bit further down, it's plus 1,800 is the Houston Astros versus the San Diego Padres. And I actually didn't snippet the rest of them, but most of them are the Houston Astros. I saw one of them was the Houston Astros versus the Braves, and then I saw Houston Astros versus somebody else. But there's a lot of Houston Astros on there. But the one that everybody wants to hear is, what are the Astros' odds to win the World Series? Not just make it to the World Series, but the Dodgers have the greatest odds of winning the World Series. I don't know why, but it's at plus 360. And the Astros are second. The Astros are second at plus 600.
Hey, wait, Eric. Where are the the New York Mets suddenly aren't in for the World Series? Oh, I am so brokenhearted. Where are the Yankees?
Oh, you mean Yankees? Oh, actually, didn't. They're at the bottom. They're like,
I know, that's my
Brewers.
point. But the Yankee fan told me we're going to sign Garrett Cole. We're going to win the next 10 World Series. Oh my God! But y'all got to deal with guys like Jose Altuve. You can't even get past Altuve. What expects you? I mean, oh, and then I hear they're going to trade for Joey Gallo, but don't they have a right fielder in Aaron Judge? Things are insane in New York, and I'm sorry, you love to see it.
Yes. So I know you just kind of gave off a whole bunch of names. Was there any particular name of the pitchers you just listed that you think the Astros fans should be looking out for of those pitchers, Matt? Maybe one that stands out the most.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't catch.
Was there? You just listed out a whole bunch of Astros prospects.
Did you ask
was
which
there
pitcher
one
that I just
that stands out the most?
right? Yes, definitely. It would be Chase strikeout and the ability to have an above-average batted profile, and also be very strong against opposite-handed batters. Like I said, those are very starter pitching traits, and I think fans are excited about watching you pitch. And then again in the spring, the next guy I'm going to preview actually in the next table, Rhett Koba, put up right up there with McDermott. People may be confused that Koba made it to the 12th rank. I showed you before how Gordon was almost plus at all three ball profile. Koba missed doing that by 1 point in his control rating. So he's very sound fundamental. He's perfect for the Astros. Astros can trick out K ability from guys that quite peaked yet in that area. Like they're not going to help McDermott much because he's almost strikeouts. But Koba is definitely going to benefit from being in the Astros and get that extra dose of strikeouts that he needs to be potentially a top. That he's a smaller guy with a smaller frame, looks like a kid, a little bit among men. Base of pitching fundamentals, and like I said, nobody's better than the Astros at getting an extra strikeout out of a good match.
All right. So, Matt, would you mind trying to exit and come back in? Let's see if that will help your audio. It's coming in and out real quick before we go into this day 3 of prospects.
Okay.
But Brett, while he's doing that, let's go and talk a little bit about what could possibly happen over the next couple of days. I know we got the White Sox coming in town, and this is a team that could be a team that could win the World Series. So I know tomorrow we have McCullers on the mound for the Astros. I saw somewhere who's they're going to be facing, but let's see. Matt's trying to come back in. Let's see if his audio is a little bit better. But this is definitely going to be a World Series,
how's that sound?
A playoff. Definitely, it sounds a little bit better. So it's definitely going to be a playoff atmosphere.
Yeah, definitely.
Versus the White Sox, because this is not a team that you can take lightly. This is a team that's going to be coming. They mean business. I know they lost one of their big hitters this year, but this is a team that it's not. But the Astros seem to play well against good teams. I don't understand that.
They've done well for whatever reason. We've talked about it. It's an anomaly. They play down to their competition, and I don't know why that is, but I believe our schedule's pretty favorable, whether they're good teams or bad teams. And Eric, here's the thing: I don't really know that the Astros have to go out and make a move because Baez is actually throwing. Diaz is actually at the facility in West Palm today. I believe Pedro Baez was throwing over there in Fayetteville for the Woodpeckers. And if these guys come back and they can do what they're supposed to do, what they're expected to do, like, why would you go give up some crazy, future offensive guy for a 1 or 2 inning relief pitcher? It doesn't make any sense to me why you would do that.
Right. So I know that also, before we get back to the prospects, James Click went out and said apparently that he wouldn't rule out the Astros trading for a starting pitcher. That's something that's kind of a little surprising to me. I mean, I know you can't, especially with how we've seen kind of the pitchers go down. We saw that one season where Mike Fiers, of all people, carried the Astros for 2 months, and then where everybody was down the stretch. But it just, I mean, I'll have to look at this article a little bit deeper, but let's, Matt, you want to talk a little bit about patching the holes in the bullpen with the surplus starters?
Yes, that's one of my favorite things about this era of baseball, and the extra days often between the games. Like they did with Morton and McCullers before. The Astros have these guys, Javier, Sia now, and even our key to me, I thought, as McCullers going as their power guys at the front of the rotation. Use Grind, change of pace guy that kind of pulls and confuse batters. And if they can get that threesome going, then they can those other the other 3 guys, Garcia, Javier, and Keedy, and they might even be able to use Odorizzi a little bit in that vein. Odorizzi is a very good infield plus fly ball plus K pitchers I talked about earlier with some of those prospects. If you do that, you might not use anyone other than Presley. What I like about Baker as a manager is he can remember when the time you use a reliever is when you don't have a starter. And I think that's one of the best ways that teams, because by the time you get to the end of the season, your bullpen guys are mostly gassed, and they are not, and then your relievers, with the exception of a guy like Presley. So that's how I'd like to see the season play out personally.
Well, that's kind of what they did in 2017. They kind of relied on Charlie Morton and Lance McCullers in the World Series, and that's how Charlie Morton had that epic moment to close out the World Series. So, yeah.
Well, who knows if you're talking about getting a starter, who's out there? Gibson, Max Scherzer. Are we really going to do that? Are we? The Rangers aren't trading with us. No, don't look at me like that. Those are the scenarios that are out there. Okay, I'm not saying. Yes, there are people floating Max Scherzer as being someone that is on the trade market. Go talk to the national media guys. They're the gurus that are out there saying this.
The Astros aren't going to go out there and take on that contract.
But if you say starting pitchers, those are the only 2 starting pitchers I know of that I've heard names of being trade targets. I mean, who else is out there? We're not going to go get a starting pitcher. We don't need a starting pitcher. We need relief pitching. But I still don't like paying a high price for a 1-inning guy. I saw some ridiculous article that I retweeted, a fan-sided article from Chicago that proposed these ridiculous trades. Chris Bryant for Pedro Leon and Corey Lee. What? And then Anthony Rizzo coming to Houston. We have a first baseman. And then the other one, I don't even know, like, the trades were just absolutely brutal. And I'm like, these are not realistic things. Like, if it's not broke, don't fix it. What's broken? Our relief pitching. But if everybody comes back and they do what they were purchase to do, we don't have to go spend. I mean, heck, we might get JV back in the playoffs. I'm just saying, like, I don't know that I'm so sold on going out and getting a big arm right now.
All right. So Matt's not really sure the Astros can beat the other team's offers. And with the prospects they have, he said maybe go get a left-handed reliever, somebody who's not terrible before versus right-handed batters on the cheap. Yeah. I would say that they'll probably need to go get the relievers first. I agree with you, Matt. I don't think you need to go all in for a starting pitcher, but I'm not James Click. So I think I know I didn't see anything about this. Apparently, somebody said that Max Scherzer is a rumor for the Astros. I have to go look at that. I don't know how long I was in that escape room. Apparently, a lot has happened, but this is just crazy. But by the way, are there any Matt, real quick? Are there any day 3 pitchers? We only have a few minutes left, but are there any day 3 pitchers you want to kind of look at?
Yeah, why don't I just kind of run? People who want to stop the video later can stop it and
Okay.
Okay, so this is Koba. Again, he's 1 point away from being what we call a triple plus slashy, which is great. Fundamentally sound and very does. Here we have Bragado, who's local to Houston by way of Puerto Rico upbringing. He's a buddy of Correa, not a nepotism pick. He's got a powerful fastball with lots of movement. Versus same-handed batters, but not opposite-handed batters. This is Adrian Chaidez of UCLA. Phenomenal season. He's a K plus infield fly ball, short RP prospect. This is one of the free agent they signed after the draft. And Miley, he's a starting pitcher with big strikeout stuff. He eventually will get into a strikeout specialized relief role, but he's kind of fringy on batted ball and goal. But he's very intriguing, I think, in the long term as a strike guy. He's got a starter's repertoire, hasn't started all much, but he's been killing it in the MLB draft league this summer. And here's they've signed, and this is the database I set up for 5 of the MLB teams that I've been talking with and providing data leading up to the draft. This database is set up at my Twitter feed. So anybody that wants to go up and pull up any pitcher they want, their friend, the guy they went to high school, the guy at the college they go to now, etc., they can go to my Twitter feed at AILOCITY and get access to this data and kind of fish through it and see what they like. So that's pretty much it.
Wow, this is awesome. So these are your Astros, future Astros of tomorrow, and this is a different way of looking at them. I know the difference about the NFL and the NBA is you can't see these guys this season. You have to wait 4 years down the road. But it's kind of cool that you get to kind of get a kind of inside look of what they can maybe be in the future. So thank you for this kind of inside look into this. And so you think that, Matt, just a crystal ball in front of you right now, what do you think the Astros do? I know you already said reliever, but do you think that's all they do?
Also thought about, a guy like Paul, while he's going to be around for a while here, and we want him to as much as possible. It might be a good idea to add a veteran center fielder of some sort as an option in the postseason, to where we can use Straw more fun, sort of that extra speed guy, defense guy on the bench. That time rolls around in the season, so that would be the thing I would watch out for sure.
Alrighty. So, Matt, thank you for coming on show. Where can they find your stuff? I know you mentioned it just a few minutes ago, but where can you find all these great charts?
Yeah, it's at Reilocity, REILOCITY on Twitter. Thanks, guys. I very much appreciate coming on to talk about this and the Astros. I'm an Astros fan at heart, but I've begun to branch out into working with other teams now. My loyalty as a fan still applies to the Astros.
All right. All right. Go ahead, Brett.
Yeah. So this, in this episode, we basically took a deep dive into Astros prospects, the future of pitchers, how teams analyze pitchers, and some really, really good information. And I really hope that y'all go on Twitter, follow him, and you look up his charts, look up your buddies. I mean, you may be in college right now listening to this and have a friend that's on the baseball team, and you'll be able to find their stats. The Houston Astros, I think, Eric, are going to have a great second half. To close it out, if I were to grade the Astros out in the first half, I'm going to give them an A. I'm not going to give them an A plus. I'm not going to give them a B or a C. I'm going to give them an A because with and where they are at the top of the mountain of the American League, I think that they have done an excellent job. I expect them to do more of that in the second half and get 2 A's and I think they'll be on the honor roll. They'll be in the World Series, and we'll talk more about that as the season unfolds. We've got the White Sox next. Definitely a tough series, but we handled them last time, so why can't we handle them again? I'm H-Town Wheelhouse for Locked on Astros with Eric Heisman, our main host, and Matt Collier joining us tonight. Y'all have a good one. This is Locked on Astros. Listen for us on Locker Room this weekend, and we'll be back next week. Y'all have a good one.
And guys, get all the sports news you need in another 20 minutes with the Locked On Today podcast. Get host Peter Bukowski updates you with all the latest news in every major sport with the help of our local expert. Follow the Locked On Today podcast on Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcast.